I should probably be keeping a close eye on it to make sure it's cooking properly. But looking over at Hendrik and Talaiporia, they're holding hands, so simply and happily. She's gripping his hand tightly from joy. And then she jerks him across the table. Straight into the flaming cart. Hey all you cool creatures. I'm Cryptid. Welcome to the Cryptid Plays YouTube channel, and today we are playing May I Take Your Order, which is a comedy horror visual novel where you work as a new waiter in a restaurant and you meet a very strange couple, one of which is a eldritch entity and is quite terrifying. Now, there are some content warnings that I wish to provide you with, which include alcohol mentions, some loud sounds, some violence, depictions of burns, blood, gore, intestines, which I guess go along with gore, and overall disturbing imagery, so viewer discretion is advised. Anything that is too graphic will be somewhat censored by me. Just keep that in mind, and with that out of the way, let's get started. Alright, I've been filling out a few applications today, and this is the last one. I've been applying to work at restaurants all over. It might not seem glamorous, but I want to see how different places are run. By the way, I think there's 5 endings in this, so we'll see how that all goes down, I guess. If I want to open my own restaurant someday, it's crucial to see what does and doesn't work. A friend told me I should save my top pick for last, and I should really kick him for that. My hand's about to fall off. It's a pretty ritzy establishment, but comfortable. Fancy, but not overpriced. Important clientele, but still kind and inclusive. If you can't make connections here, you're dead. Financially speaking. And the food. Remarkable. I've never heard of anyone ever having a bad meal there. I gotta know how they accomplish so much. So I try not to be too nervous and fill this out like it's any other application. My first name is... Let's go with Moth. There we go. Moth. I fill in my address and try not to despair over my handwriting. Before getting to the personal section, gender is... I am going to go with male, so he, him. And I finish filling out the form. I cap the pen and lean back in my chair. Man, it's nice to be done. Well, except for heading outside and turning them all in, one at a time. Better get to it. 2 weeks later, and I'm waist deep in my first Saturday shift at the restaurant. Busy doesn't even begin to describe it. After 7 hours of the weekend rush, I'm ready to go home. I stop off at table 6, and go through the motions. Thank you for dining with us, sir. My name is Moth, and I'll be your server for this evening. He smiles at me. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Moth. Have you dined with us before, sir? Yes, indeed. I'm quite happy to be back. Just you this evening, sir? No, my girlfriend will be here shortly. I'll just have a cup of coffee while I wait for her. I'll go get that for you right away then. No rush. Countless families and couples have come and gone today. But for the past hour, that one guy's been clogging up table 6. Are you doing all right, sir? He checks his watch again. I like how it changed to stood up guy. Oh no, he looks so sad though. Yes, I mistook the time. She'll be here any second. He's been saying that for the past 45 minutes. That smile. I'd tell him to pack it up and leave, but he doesn't have the look I'd expect of someone in his position. There's anxiety, but only a little bit, and there's no disappointment. Not a shred of doubt in his eyes. He really thinks. Excuse me. He looks up at me. It seems he's come to some sort of decision. Thank goodness. But this is a restaurant with crayons, correct? Yes, sir. We have those for kids. Excellent. A sting of ferocity enters his eyes, one that doesn't quite pair naturally with crayons. I think I know where this is going. One, please, and red if you've got it. Yeah, sure. I'm not about to argue with a customer, so I head to the front. It's not exactly usual, but the guy has been sitting here for half an hour with no phone. I'm caught between pity and irritation and hope for the umpteenth time that he has enough empathy to tip well on the single cup of coffee he's been nursing. There's a small tin with several crayons. We try to keep fresh ones ready. I grab... Oh no, can we mess things up? A blue crayon. Ha 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 ha. Sorry, dude. Out of sheer spite, I grab a blue crayon. Look, I have to be here until all the customers leave, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. I bring the crayon back over to him and hand it over. Thank you, Mr. Moth. Look, I'd really appreciate it if you could order something. I'm usually very good with customers, but this is seriously trying my patience. Look, I know you're probably having a rough night, but we're closing soon. No warning, no nothing. He knocks everything off the table and climbs right on. What the f- Hey! What do you think you're doing? His deft hand scrawls a wide circle, then another, then sections off areas, slicing as though the crayon were a knife. He fills it with symbols. They almost look like zodiac signs. Humo sum humaniame nihil alenium. I'm not going to say that last one, because that is a kind of a dirty word in Spanish. It's like I stood up too fast. There's a rushing to my head. There's a pressure, like my ears are going to pop. Whoa. Ah! The tablecloth rips apart, and there's a spray of sweet-smelling fluid. I leap away from the table as something bursts out. Well, I don't think that was supposed to happen. Wet, spiked appendages are flailing all over, slapping and shaking their way over to the windows and doors. They're fleshy, but soft, too soft, and they mush and disfigure as they slam against everything in sight. One smacks the hat off of another diner, who continues to eat her meal, unfazed. Nobody is screaming. And nobody notices me on the ground, arms raised to protect my face and throat too tight to scream again. But that's okay. The thing is screaming enough for the entire restaurant. It's letting out a dual-toned screech, high and low, but I can't discern one throat, let alone two. Crayon thrown to the floor, the stood-up guy and worst diner ever starts to call out to it. He is now the worst diner ever. Sweetie, for goodness sake, put your body on. We're in a nice restaurant. It screeches and roars back at him. I know, but... He waves a bundle of cloth at it. I brought you some clothing. And it's super comfy. It slurps up the bundle of fabric, and the creature bubbles and draws back in on itself, twisting until... I emerge. She is so cute. You're here. You had me worried, so I figured I'd help break the barrier down a bit. Talaiporia, you have no idea how good it is to see you. When he says that word, my ears finally pop, and my teeth grit. It's a bad word. It's not a curse word, per se. Not so much a word you wouldn't say in front of your boss. It feels like the wrong answer in a classroom or meeting. That moment when everyone turns and looks at you, and you just want to sink through the floor. I just want to sink through the floor. I want to very quietly go get my coat and change my name and move to whatever town is on the exact opposite point of the globe from where I'm currently standing. You informed me that the barrier was to be frail in this portion of your world. I will hold you responsible for the trouble. He's beaming at the thing that came out of the hole, but I can't look at it. It hurts to roll my eyeballs toward it, like I'm dehydrated. When I close my eyes, the dark behind my eyelids is so cool and so soft. Huh. There are tears running down my cheeks. I hadn't noticed. The guy, Hendrik, beams and gestures toward the gaggle of eyes and puffy wool. This is my girlfriend, Talaiporia. Impudent microbe! I may choose to craft for myself the form of a creator, a birthing one, but I am capable of far greater creations than your prepubescent females. And far more erroneously, your inflated ego thinks I would deign to refer to you as any form of companion. Her words wash over him like a gentle breeze. It looks like she could rip his face off, but her roars just make his eyes brim with joy. We've been dating for about 400 years now, and though the long-distance thing is an eensy bit of an annoyance, we make it work. The moment I finally devise an effective method of accomplishing your demise, I will rip your soul from your ever-regenerating body and chew it to a gruel. He sits down at the all-but-destroyed table and picks up his menu. But until that beautiful day when I can be with you forever, you're going to need to eat something else. Talaiporia stops. She looks at me, and I bounce between eyes, trying to make contact with one that doesn't stare down into my deepest inadequacies. There is human fuel here. I nod. Her mouth breaks open into a smile? Excellent. You are spared from punishment, Hendrik, if only for the moment. She sits down, but not on a chair. Dozens of her tentacles are still present throughout the entire room, spikes driven deep into the surfaces, blocking all of the exits. She settles into one of the squishy appendages, looking pleased. So then maybe we should order an appetizer. It's not that I can't believe that this is happening. I have an open mind. But as far as sudden supernatural shifts to my life, I was really hoping for wizard school, or just a plain old haunting. Some ghosts are pretty cool, right? At least with a zombie or something, I'd know the rules here. What are the rules with this thing? Do I throw rice on the ground to stall her? Will she attack me if I touch her with iron? I had to listen to my gut, but I can't make out anything but general foreboding. Demon? You summon demons? So that fits. But I don't know. Something doesn't seem quite right about that. Maybe she's excuse me. Oh. I can barely think. But I can at least fall back on one set of rules. I struggle to stutter out the rote reply. Would you like to start off with a super salad tonight? The man grins and gives an eager nod. Could I please get the blue cheese salad? And for my sweetie. The Talaiporia rolls her eyes, and her teeth flash as she cuts in. Hendrik, I've been on enough of these sham dates. to know that ordering for your companion is rude. His face falls. But it's been ages since you've eaten any food. You're chewing on the fork right now. I gotta say, she is so my type. She is hilarious and she is cute. She gives him a glare and slowly places the slightly bent cutlery back down on the table. Fine. But before he can say another word, she makes her move. I don't want your advice, though. I want the young human to choose for me. Oh, no. He sighs, annoyed. But he checks himself before looking at me. I think he knows that she's putting me on the spot. I can appreciate that he's trying to look out for me. I mean, I'd appreciate it more if he could have not summoned some kind of eldritch thing during an already busy Saturday shift. Or at all. I ease my throat open enough to squeak out, Caesar salad? This doesn't seem to mean much of anything to her. But hey, who can go wrong with the basics? One look at Hendrik and I can tell. Me. I can go wrong with the basics. He heaves a sigh. And what would you like for your entree? She slams a fist down on the table. My stomach lurches. First, bring me the matter. This physical form requires fuel to sustain itself. I turn on my heel and fly out of there. An excuse to leave. If there are any kindly extra-dimensional beings looking down on me right now, I would like to take this opportunity to thank them. I rush into the kitchen. Back in the kitchen, everyone's still bustling about. Other servers are calling in their orders. The ambitious cooks are working. The slightly less ambitious cooks are cracking jokes with each other. They're as oblivious as the customers out front. I can see my manager discussing some menu changes with the head chef. Hey, does anyone else see what's going on out there? But nobody turns to look at me. Hey, I'm serious. What the hell is going on? Are they ignoring me? Do you expect me to just come back here and bring in this order like nothing's wrong? I take a sarcastic tone. Yeah, we got a blue cheese and a salad for table 6. Just another usual night, right? Without warning, a tray with the order is put down on the counter next to me. But other than that, there's no hint of a glance. No guilty looks. Hey! Nobody even flinches. Fine. Looks like I'm on my own. And did I tell you how lovely your eyes are this evening? From your ever-effusive sewer pipe of compliments springs something worthwhile. I made most of them myself, but the eye in the center of my head was my reference object. I couldn't even tell the difference. Your anatomy has gotten so much better since the last decade. It is easier when I have a fresh supply of study materials. So I suppose I can remain here long enough to consume some matter. Let no sentient being claim that I do not repay my debts. Well, that's just one of the perks of the job. Teachers can bring home knowledge. Cooks can bring home food. And surgeons can bring spare body parts back to their girlfriends. I can say with relative certainty that that isn't how it works. If I ever find out this man's last name, I'm never going to his hospital. I serve Talaiporia her salad, trying not to get too close. I'll be back in a moment. I need to wash my hands after that summoning. Before I'll ever feel clean again, I'll need a hot shower, a Brillo pad, and therapy. Talaiporia purses her lips and pokes at the lettuce with a fork. Foliage. Oh no, look at her teeth. That cruel glare. Of course she's a meat eater. What was I thinking? I need to rescue this quickly. Our Caesar salad also comes with anchovies, which you will see there. I gesture toward one of the small fish in her salad. She spears one with an elongated claw and peers closely at it with her cluster of eyes. If you were to diagram your local food chain, where might one find this small creature? I guess it isn't a plant or a plankton, but still relatively toward the bottom? She snorts. A meager offering for an establishment claiming to vend luxury. She picks the fish out and chomps them down before shoving the rest of the bowl away, disgusted. She wraps the scarf around herself. Now that I think about it, the clothing Hendrik brought for her is all very heavy. A maxi skirt, a thick sweater, and a blanket scarf. The way you're clutching that scarf, are you cold? You may not have my scarf. It retains my heat. I will continue to generate and retain heat, and it will belong to me, not you. I take a step back. No, that's all your heat. Fair and square. She growls. Happily? Yes. All mine. Hendrik will be procuring more matter this evening, which will continue to power this form. Physical exertion is a luxury, the caloric energy necessary to move but a digit. She lifts one of her own claws. Is precious, and I've gone for thousands of years lying in wait for foolish summoners to tear open rifts and let in the good heat from your world. Talaiporia leans down on the table. The edges of the scarf trail into her untouched salad. So, human, how do you enjoy generating your own heat? I'm going with all the wrong answers. It's not great, really. Have you ever gotten sweaty? I fan my collar a little. I could really use a cold drink right now. She gives a quizzical look. Are you implying that at times you generate too much heat? I nod. In the summer, when the sun gets closer to Earth, everything gets hot and gross. Humans can get so warm they die. Her eyes open wide. Both of them. All of them. Do you catch fire and burn? No, it's not like getting burned. It's just too much heat for the whole system, I think. And you cannot simply uncover yourselves and release the heat into the vacuum of space? I shake my head. No, ma'am. The vacuum of space is too far away, and in the summer we're surrounded by too much heat. Ha! Your creator failed to take the seasons into account. Tell it to mind that on the next draft. I assure her that I will. And out of the corner of my eye, I see Hendrik returning. And Hendrik returns. Getting along well? As well as might be expected. Still, thank you for keeping her company. We'll eat our appetizers and... She shakes her head. I'm finished with mine. He laughs. Of course, how could I forget? So then, would you like to move on to the main course now? The next part of the meal? Ah, yes, with the larger portions. Hendrik points to her menu. So, what were you thinking about? I always like steak, but I admit that I was kinda thinking about splurging on the... Hey, human moth. Yeah? Choose. Do it promptly and wisely, or else I will need to consume something else for my main course. She's staring me right in the eyes, and her gaze lingers on my mouth. She stares at my teeth and licks her lips. Could she eat my teeth? Well, I think you would enjoy. I recommend the squid ink pasta. The chef's special today is a fresh spaghetti with squid ink and Cajun shrimp. She sighs. Squids, I have a special place in my heart for cephalopods. Oh, so you added that fifth valve. It's nurturing cuttlefish eggs at the moment. Aww. I look to him for his order. I'll keep up the seafood theme then. 1 lobster, no butter, please. Coming right up. The cooks prepare the dishes as usual and hand them off to me. Just like last time, never making eye contact or reacting to anything I say. I serve Talaiporia her pasta, and Hendrik his lobster. Spaghetti might not seem like a fancy food, but these noodles are pitch black. I mean, I think they're cool. She seems pretty neutral about them, which isn't the worst outcome I could imagine. So, before I go, is everything to your liking? Is the food, powering your true form enough? Silly moth. When in my true form, I do not consume human fuel. This human template, my... what did you call it? Hendrik's caught mid-bite, and he covers his mouth to respond. Human sona. My human sona. It consumes calories, inhales oxygen, excretes feces. All the same as yourself, I assume. I never expected to have a restaurant patron ask if I breathe and poop, but here we are. But my true form requires something much more deeply sustaining. She stares me down. She looks at my teeth again. She looks me in the eye. She holds that eye contact and waits. I try not to squirm, but my moxie is inadequate for this situation. She waits, and then laughs. I can breathe again. Delicious. A light dusting of fear. Nothing too overwhelming. If that doesn't strike her as much fear, please let me never ever learn what does. So you eat fear, then? It falls under my purview. Suffering. Sweetie's true form eats concepts. And she builds her human sonas to have quite the taste for them too. Any form of important emotion can sustain her, but she's picky. I am not. Suffering is the only thing worth eating. Eating anything else would be beneath me. It's okay, whatever you eat. I love you just the way you are. And I would like you so much better with several more stab wounds to the head. Any times. Oh my. He likes that. Any time, sweetie. Though I managed to sneak away for the next 15 minutes, I know that I'll eventually have to return. I try to strike up conversation with the line cooks again. So, how do you guys feel about the recent tentacle invasion? Of course, nobody responds. Yeah, it's hard to really put into words, huh? No response. Dishes click. Oh, I guess the spooky atmosphere has a certain charm, but I don't think it'll catch on with the baby boomers. Conventional wisdom says that they like elegance or rustic charm, and Midwestern moms are not into dripping fluids. I mean, as a general group. I don't want to assume individual tastes. This gets boring quickly, so after the appropriate waiting period, I head back over. Thank you for dining with us tonight. I did it! I made it through the evening. I'm tempted to not even give them a check, to just rush them right out the door. But I refuse to slip up now. It's been a delight getting to know the both of you. How kind of you. You know, I was planning on heading out, but you know what? I couldn't care less if I attempted, and I am very powerful. I am capable of caring far less than most humans could in their most apathetic dreams. Let's do dessert. Oh, okay. I look from his smiling face to Talaiporia's cruel one. I know how this goes. Let's make a recommendation. Oh no! Hendrik, have mercy, please. Screw it. Caution to the wind. Bananas Foster flambe. Is my professionalism slipping? Must be. What are we impregnating? Sweetie, it's a figure of speech. I don't have that function this time around. Sweetie, I think he's just tired. On the contrary, I think I'm finding my second wind now. I scramble about the kitchen, grabbing everything I need. Am I cleared to do this? Hell no. 2 weeks is not long enough to have permission to set things on fire next to the diners. But tonight's special, isn't it? I wheel the cart over. I like how she's smiling evilly. And he just looks so upset. I wheel the cart over. Feeling a mite chatty, I take my time prepping to light it on fire. So, congrats on getting out of, what did you call it? The cold place? The void. Void? God, what's it like in there? Dark, cold, mostly barren. I think that means locked in, but I'm not sure. Locked for something approaching an eternity with nothing but your own thoughts. Unless one can become creative. I do my best to make creatures to fill it, but it is a vast expanse. Literally endlessly big, but with nothing in it. Yeah, I caught part of your conversation before. You made your body, right? Indeed. When rifts become open, I am able to seize not only heat, but stray matter. I model the majority of my creations after your carbon-based life forms. But modifications must be made. I'll bet. If the void doesn't have heat or any of its own matter, you'd need to make creatures that don't eat or breathe, right? Good human. I model most of them after myself. And you eat concepts. Yes, After billions and billions of years, I've evolved over 1 million species of void creature. Nearly all of them feed, as I do, on the concept of suffering. So it's an endless, barren place with no light, no heat, where the only things that exist just go around preying on each other's suffering all the time. Yes! She's so happy. Is it not marvelous? And someday, human moth, there will be a rift large enough that it is not tiny scraps and stray humans which fall through, but your entire plane of existence. You will enjoy it. Wouldn't I, hate it? I got distracted there for a bit, but I grabbed the rum. Can't caramelize it right without a pretty flame. I mean, I don't enjoy suffering. You'd be surprised what humans can get used to, I'm sure, Hendrik. I used the wrong English word. A closer translation might be resignation. You would become resigned to an existence saturated with pain. Enjoy isn't the correct term. Unless you're a disgusting cluster of miswired brain signals. Love you too, sweetie. I know what you're doing, Hendrik. You think if you can keep delaying me with fancy dinners, stolen body parts, gentle words, and rough intimacy. Could we not talk about our sex life in public, thank you? She places a hand on his arm. That you can stop me. You are, as always, disgusting, but an appealing opponent. Look out! And I light it up. The flame shines in her eyes, and I can feel the heat coming off of it. I should probably be keeping a close eye on it to make sure it's cooking properly. But looking over at Hendrik and Talaiporia, they're holding hands, so simply and happily. She's gripping his hand tightly from joy. And then she jerks him across the table. Straight into the flaming cart. He immediately rolls away from the cart like he has practice with this sort of thing. Oh my god. She is evil. Maybe I should have seen this coming. He executes a perfect stop, drop, and roll, and soon the flames are out. Eesh. Though he's far from unscathed. Whew. Human. This was a fantastic dinner. Bring us the statement so that we might repay you for your noble worship and gifts. I salute and wheel what remains of the upturned cart away. It's not long before I return with the bill in hand. He takes the check. He seems to do a bit of calculation in his head, then lays down some cash. Well, this evening wasn't a complete waste of time and effort. Organ ravioli. Hendrik looks up at her. You may have one short, friendly embrace. Oh no, that makes him so happy. He jumps to his feet, arms wide open to hug her. And one of her tentacles... She's so mean. And one of her tentacles slams into him, throwing his body across the room. It slams into the wall and ragdolls to the ground. Hug transaction complete. Oh no, did you just kill him? She heaves a sigh. Would I were so lucky. No, human, I have merely rendered him unconscious. That's good. Via severe cranial hemorrhaging. That's bad. He will sleep it off. I've ripped off his limbs before. He can take it. She looks almost fond. She gets up, walks over to him, and grabs him by the foot. I suppose it is time to return him to his residence. She perks up. Or I can abandon his body in a trash unit. Perhaps nobody will find him and he will be placed inside a trash compactor. As she turns to drag him away, I ask, Miss Talaiporia. She turns, quizzical. Human, I am departing. You've made it through this evening unscathed. You have little to no ability to comprehend how fortunate that makes you, but I suggest you make an attempt. I clear my throat. I think I'm trapped. I gesture around the restaurant. Oh, yes. I had forgotten. Your world usually has even more light, does it not? She shrugs. Well, I had no hand in this. And with that, she waves aside a tentacle and marches through the front door. Hendrik's head thuds against the ground as she walks down the staircase and out of sight. When I hear the front door close, another server bumps me in the shoulder, stepping past. They give me a dirty look and keep heading their way. Just like that, I'm back. I get moving, clearing the table, scooping up the check. I check the tip. 40%! It might not cover emotional distress, but it'll cap off the shift well. This was quite the experience. But for my own safety, I think I'm going to have to skip the 2 weeks notice. I came here to learn something new, and I'd say that goal was more than accomplished. So what ending did I get? Ending 4, a hug goodbye, okay. That was, I really enjoyed it. I liked Talaiporia. Alright. I'm going to see what happens if I give him the red crayon first. So, a red crayon. I snatch up a red crayon. No sense in being mean to him. He may be weird, but he's probably having a bad night too. I bring the crayon back over to him and hand it over. Thank you, Mr. Moth. It's no big deal. Hey, are you okay? I saw you don't have a cell phone, but we could call your girlfriend and... No warning, no nothing. He knocks everything off the table and climbs right on. What? Sir? Please get down. Alright, this is the same. Okay, so this is the same. I will just skip ahead then to our next choice. So then maybe we should order an appetizer. Excuse me. Oh, I can barely think, but I can at least fall back on one set of rules. I struggle to stutter out the rote reply. Would you like to start off with a soup or salad tonight? The man grins and gives an eager nod. Could I please get the blue cheese salad? And for my sweetie. The Talaiporia rolls her eyes and her teeth flash as she cuts in. Hendrik, I've been on enough of these sham dates to know that ordering for your companion is rude. His face falls. But it's been ages since you've eaten any food. You're chewing on the fork right now. Fine. But before he can say another word, she makes her move. I don't want your advice, though. I want the young human to choose for me. Oh no. He sighs, annoyed. But he checks himself before looking at me. I think he knows she's putting me on the spot. I ease my throat open enough to squeak out. I mean, we know the Caesar salad wasn't correct. Tomato bisque. That doesn't seem to mean much of anything to her. But we make a pretty killer tomato soup here. And it's popular with kids. I have no idea what flavors would taste good to her mouth. So it's best to stick with something with broad appeal. My eyes flit back over to Hendrik, and there's mild disappointment on his face. This isn't what he would have chosen, but it looks like he can work with it. And what would you like for your entree? All right. Yeah, we got a blue cheese and a bisque for table 6, just another usual night, right? Without warning, a tray with the orders put down on the counter next to me. But other than that, there's no hint of a glance. No guilty looks. Hey! Nobody even flinches. Fine. Looks like I'm on my own. I serve Talaiporia her bisque, trying not to get too close. Please be careful, it's very hot. Remember, sweetie, that too much heat can injure. Silence, meat garden. I know what to do with volatile heat sources. Welp! She flings the scalding liquid across the table and it hits Hendrik square in the chest. You know, we should have expected this. Ugh. He rushes out to the bathroom, face red from pain. We don't serve our soups at a heat that could do permanent damage, but that still has to hurt. She closes most of her eyes and inhales a deep breath. Satisfied. When she speaks again, her rough voice has a tranquil tone. Clean it up, human. This is an establishment with standards. Is it not? Well, it was, I mutter. The elegant charm might be a bit altered by the sudden presence of giant tentacles. She snuggles down into her seat. This is a gift for your owners. This is a sliver of my true form. Well, it's lovely. Sorry that you didn't like the bisque. Apology unnecessary, human. I enjoyed that immensely. She wraps the scarf around herself. Alright, we're gonna skip ahead, because we remember talking about how she lives in a cold void. Talaiporia leans down on the table. The edges of the scarf trail into her bisque. Or at least what's left of it. Is it selfish to be happy that she's disarmed now? I look at the still present tentacles and recalculate that statement. She at least cannot harm me with soup. And that's something. So, human, how do you enjoy generating your own heat? I like it. Physical activity is fun. I, too, enjoy hunting. Actual consumption of matter at times comes second to the thrill of pursuing a terrified creature. Well, I was more thinking about exercise, you know, to keep in shape. She stops. Do you waste your fuel on extra heat? No. It isn't a waste, it's fun. She hisses through her jagged teeth. The human enjoys this, does he? Yes, it's nice to be able to move, isn't it? She taps her knife against her glass. Well, I suppose. Ooh. And Hendrik returns, getting along well? As well as might be expected. So then, would you like to move on to the main course now? The next part of the meal? Ah, yes. With the larger portions. Hendrik points to her menu. So, what were you thinking about? I always like steak, but I admit that I was kinda thinking about splurging on the... Hey, human moth! I snapped to attention. Yes, ma'am. Choose. Do it promptly and wisely, or I will need to consume something else for my main course. Is there a time limit? If I waited, would she actually kill us? Well, after waiting a couple of minutes, it does not seem like that is how you get one of the endings, so... We have a beautiful porterhouse steak? Steak? She certainly recognizes the word. And I wouldn't normally recommend doing this, but there's a bone, a piece of cow skeleton in the steak. Maybe you might also be able to eat that? Apparently, yes. And I'll have the lobster, please. He looks a little embarrassed. It is a night for celebrating, you know. Hey, I don't mind. Rack up that bill. He chuckles and I head off to the kitchen. The cooks prepare the dishes as usual and hand them off to me. Both of these meals require special cutlery. I've got a lobster fork and cracker for Hendrik, and a steak knife for Talaiporia. The serrated edges gleam in the murky light. Is it really a good idea to hand a weapon like this over to her? I'm on my own here and nobody will help me if she attacks me. Or maybe since nobody else will help me, I have to deal with the situation myself. She hasn't made a move to harm me yet. But she did do a number on the dining room. It may only be a matter of time. Are we really gonna? As I look over at table 6, it's time to make a choice. What should I do with the knife? All right, be warned, I think I might be stabbing an eyeball here. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to kill Talaiporia. I slide the knife to the back of the tray and approach them. No, I can appreciate finely crafted facsimiles. So you'll come with me then? They're pretty distracted with their conversation, so they barely even notice me. Ugh, I make no promises. Why should I come watch humans pretend to injure one another when I could just as easily go out and cause harm to actually befall them? I place Hendrik's plate in front of him and his cutlery. But they're so creative. You couldn't actually get away with half of the tortures in horror films, especially not the ones nowadays. And most humans don't contain half as much blood as they show on screen. I put Talaiporia's steak down in front of her. This is true. I did enjoy the film where the woman put the men in the bags. And I gripped the knife. There are a bunch of places to stab her, but the big eye on her chest looks like a vulnerable, easy-to-hit target. Of course. That kind of sheer torment transcends language. Whoop. I did it. I'm pretty sure we did nothing. She's gonna kill us. I did it! I jump back, but her eyes immediately glaze over and shut. Sweetie? He rushes to hold her. Just hold on. No! I was going to grab the knife again to defend myself, but he's right there. I need something to cut through the tentacles and get out of here. Oh, he's gonna kill us, so she did get injured. Or possibly die? I don't want to kill her. I know what our character's thinking. I thought this was a respectable establishment. Oh no, it's like a switch has flipped. He pulls the knife out of Talaiporia. Do you know how long it takes her to put together a body? He sidesteps around the table, and he's right in front of me. How long we have to wait for the veil to thin? Do you know how hard it is getting an amoral goddess of the void to look upon humanity with anything above contempt? How hard it is to keep her eternal hunger at bay? And worst of all, she might never go on another date with me after this. The last thing on my mind before it all goes black is agonizing pain. But the penultimate thought is that maybe he might be even scarier than the thing he summoned. Ending 3, a bad idea. Okay, so we've gotten 4 and 3. All right, what are we gonna do with the knife? We're gonna get rid of it now. Fighting them seems like a terrible call. Gee, you think? But I also don't enjoy the idea of arming Talaiporia any further. Sure, there are bread knives, but those aren't designed to cut through anything sharper than butter. So I serve them their meals, taking care to hide the knife. So, before I go, is everything to your liking? Is the food, powering your true form enough? We'll skip this because I remember this conversation. It's probably, good we took away the knife because her saying, "And I would like you much better with several more stab wounds to the head," kind of indicates what might happen. Anytime, sweetie. So, thank you for dining with us tonight. I did it. I made it through the evening. I'm tempted to not even give them a check, just to rush them right out the door. But I refuse to slip up now. It's been a delight getting to know the both of you. How kind of you, which means dessert. Let's do dessert. Oh, okay. I look from his smiling face to Talaiporia's cruel one. I know how this goes. Let's make a recommendation. I recommend our chocolate tort for the delightful couple. Must remain professional. Everyone loves chocolate. Go with the safe option. Don't screw around when you're so close to the end of this. So close. Bring it on, Mr. Moth. By the way, not everyone likes chocolate. I have met a few people who don't. The torts here do better after a few hours setting up in the cooler, so they aren't made to order. I grab a couple and some spoons and return. Talaiporia doesn't seem to be a fan, but at least she doesn't make a scene. Hendrik asks for the check and I rush off to get it ready in record time. He takes the check. Well, this evening wasn't a complete waste of time and effort. Organ ravioli. Hendrik looks up at her. You may have one short, friendly embrace. Okay, so this is the hug one again. Alright, what should I do with the knife? I'm going to give it to Talaiporia, as though she were any other customer. Fighting them seems like a pretty bad call, and there's no sense in making things really awkward, right? The night's been going surprisingly well. And yeah, I'm going to count not dead yet as surprisingly well. I served the dishes as usual, placing the lobster cracker and fork by Hendrik and the steak knife next to Talaiporia's place. She glances at it, but not for more than a second. The only thing she's intent on attacking is her dinner. Bloody juice flies from the steak, dripping everywhere, pooling in her lap, sprinkling onto her seat, clinging onto the tablecloth, speckling the crayon lines, which start to buzz slowly. Should I call this to their attention? Say nothing. I say nothing and finish serving their food. As I do, I can see the wood warping like putty, until something starts to push against it from beneath. A tentacle shoots out. It looks much like Talaiporia's, but smaller and spikeless. What? The barrier. It's still weak.
Can I not have one night to myself?
She flips the steak knife in her hand, holding it blade down, and begins to slash at the tentacle.
Stop acting up for attention.
It squeals, pathetic and defeated, knife buried in it down to the hilt, before sinking back into the rift. Hendrik snatches the crayon up from the floor and scrawls out the circle. The familiar, if broken, surface of the table is once again visible. I really wish you weren't so harsh with them.
And I wish you would stop trying to be their father.
Well, I suppose it isn't easy being a mother to an entire ecosystem. Now, knifeless, she picks her steak up and rips a chunk off with her teeth. Let that be a lesson to all. I won't be forgetting that anytime soon. So before I go, is everything to your liking? Alright. Do you feel like drinking? I sure do. After dinner brandy? And since nobody seems to notice what I do this evening, I'll just grab a glass for myself and pull up a chair. And she can eat up all the discomfort she wants.
I like this human. I'm keeping him.
Sweetie, no. But I'm already off, grabbing the bottle and a trio of glasses. I slammed them down on the table and filled them up. I'll bet that you haven't had a good drink in... Well, how long have you been stuck in that cold place? She grabs a glass.
Void.
Void? God, what's it like in there? She knocks back the brandy like it's whiskey. Probably goes without saying that she doesn't drink much. Dark, cold, mostly barren. Locked for something approaching an eternity with nothing but your own thoughts. Unless one can become creative. And someday, human moth, there will be a rift large enough that it is not tiny scraps and stray humans which fall through, but your entire plane of existence. You will enjoy it. Wouldn't I, hate it? I reach for the bottle, but it's nearly empty. She's been putting it away fast. I mean, I don't enjoy suffering. You'd be surprised what humans can get used to. He finally takes a sip of his brandy. I used the wrong English word. A closer translation might be resignation.
you would become resigned to an existence saturated with pain. Enjoy isn't the correct term, unless you're a disgusting cluster of miswired brain signals.
Love you too, sweetie.
I know what you're doing, Hendrik.
We'll keep going ahead and see if this changes a bit. She places a hand on his arm.
That you can stop me. You are, as always, disgusting, but an appealing opponent.
And with that, she slumps over on the table, snoring loudly. By now I can tell that is a smile on her face. He turns to the side, brushes her hair out of her face, and wraps her up in her scarf. I'm sorry, Mr. Moth. I'm sorry, Mr. Moth. This must have been an awfully difficult table for you tonight. I didn't think they would give us someone so new. Yeah, the manager didn't warn me that we had special clientele. I was not even close to briefed for it. Well, you handled it marvelously. If you'd like to bring us the check, I think it's time to get her home. I nod and clean up the bottle and glasses. So are you going to lock her up or something? He chuckles. No, this is just a sliver of the entity deep in the void. She can always make another body. But when she recalls the memories and experiences from this one, I want to make sure she knows. She can always switch diets. I ponder that while I get his check. She's been around longer than our species. Longer than our planet. So no matter how old Hendrik is, it's nowhere close. But when I bring the check back, Mr. Hendrik, I'm rooting for you. Keep on doing the hero thing. He laughs all the way through signing the check. Loudly. My dear Mr. Moth, I assure you, I'm not being noble. It's very, very selfish. He looks at Talaiporia. She grinds her teeth a little, probably dreaming of biting someone. He scoops her up, making it look easy. She must be lighter than she looks. And for a moment I think he's going to kiss her on the cheek. But he doesn't give her anything more than a loving gaze. He carries her off out of the restaurant. And the second they step outside the door, everything goes back to normal. I start bussing the table. The tentacles may be gone, but the tablecloth is still a mess. I get it now. That closed space must be part of the restaurant to keep people safe from their more bizarre guests. Now that they're gone, it'll be up to Hendrik to keep everyone else safe. I bust the table and sneak a peek at the check. Dang. An 80% tip on a check with a steak and a full bottle of brandy makes the idea of staying here pretty tempting. I'm honestly considering it. But first, I'm going to need to have a long talk with my manager. Normally, that sort of confrontation would be intimidating. But I'm bolstered by the memory of Talaiporia's grin. And I grin too. I can handle it. Ending 5, sweet and dreams. Oh, that's cute, but let's see if I can get the other 2. Well, first I want to see how she likes the lamb chili. This doesn't seem to mean much of anything to her. Great. And what would you like for your entree? She slams a fist down on the table. My stomach lurches.
First, bring me the matter. This physical form requires fuel to sustain itself.
I turn on my heel and fly out of there, an excuse to leave. Okay. Yeah, we got a blue cheese and a chili for table 6. Just another usual night, right? Without warning, a tray with the orders put down on the counter next to me. But other than that, there's no hint of a glance, no guilty looks. Hey! Nobody even flinches. Fine. Looks like I'm on my own. I serve Talaiporia her chili, trying not to get too close. Please be careful, it's very hot. Okay. She's gonna throw it at him. Same as the bisque. Well, it's lovely. Sorry that you didn't like the chili.
Apology unnecessary, human. I enjoyed that immensely.
She sniffs the air.
And it smells nice as well.
She dabs a little of the meat on her neck.
This body has concentrated blood flow around the throat and wrists. These pulse points heat and disperse stray molecules of matter, allowing humans to perceive them with their noses.
She seems quite pleased with this luxury. She wraps the scarf around herself. Now that I think about it, the clothing Hendrik brought for her is all very heavy. Alright.
You may not have my scarf. It retains my heat. I will continue to generate and retain heat. And it will belong to me, not you.
I take a step back. No, that's all your heat, fair and square. She growls. Happily?
Yes, all mine.
Hendrik will be procuring more matter for this evening, which will continue to power this form. Is it selfish to be happy that she's disarmed now? I look at the still present tentacles and recalculate that statement. She at least cannot harm me with soup. And that's something.
So, human, how do you enjoy generating your own heat?
It's good. I'd rather just turn on the heater, though. When it gets cold, I can't bring myself to do much of anything, so I'll just turn up the thermostat. She slams a hand down.
No, this is unacceptable, lazy human. In the void, there is no heat. There are no suns off of which to leech, like some creature that lives off the blood of another.
I don't think she knows that the verb correlates to an actual animal.
You need to be more grateful.
And Hendrik returns, getting along well.
As well as might be expected.
Still, thank you for keeping her company. We'll eat our appetizers and... Alright, we'll skip ahead. Well, I think you would enjoy... We have live lobster here. Hendrik gives a bit of a nod. That's my order too. It's been a while, but this is a special night.
What? At what point did humans discover the joys of consuming live creatures?
Wait, she doesn't think I'll serve it to her while it's still... No, sweetie, I'm afraid that most of us are still a touch prudish about that sort of thing. But they have a tank here, so the lobster is fresh.
Heh! Nothing is as fresh as squeezing the life from a creature with your jaws. Feeling it writhe and struggle in a fruitless attempt to stave off the icy curtain of death.
He looked awfully happy. She's looking straight at my throat. 2 lobster dinners coming right up. I rush away as quickly as I can. I try to convince the chef to let me serve one lobster live. I feel downright ghoulish, but between me and a crustacean, I'm going to defend myself every time. But her reaction is the same as last time. She prepares the dishes as usual and hands them off to me, never making eye contact or reacting to anything I say.
What is this?
She lifts up the extra utensil. It's the lobster cracker. You use that to crack open the shell.
This is a fair idea, but it's such a waste, Moth, to use this on a deceased creature.
Well, if food is dead, isn't it easier to consume? She waves a claw at me.
Not if you have to crack it open anyway.
Hendrik is already digging the meat out of his. I like it. It's soothing to have a little tactile activity as part of your meal. Talaiporia's claws slip on the lobster cracker.
Meat shield, how are you employing your tool?
Well, you put either end of the metal bit over.
Raise it up and demonstrate.
He holds the lobster cracker and one leg up, leaning forward, so they're close enough for her to get a good look. She holds hers up, pantomiming his actions. Then promptly grabbing one of his hands, wrapping the cracker around his pointer finger and gripping it tightly. Ooh. His finger juts out at an odd angle, and blood drips onto the torn tablecloth. She cackles and throws the metal tool at his head.
Fool. I can easily employ such an item. Ah.
He's leaning away from his injured hand, the other on his face. Right you are. You got me. He sure does look embarrassed. It's really hard to tell through the pain. I mean, that is an expression of pain on his face, right? I guess she got him? He breathes heavily, trying to get himself under control. As though to prove a point, he goes right back to eating dinner, as though nothing were wrong. So, before I go, is everything to your liking? I've gone back and given her the lamb chili again. And I also said I enjoy physical activity. Do you waste your fuel on extra heat? No, it isn't a waste, it's fun. She hisses through her jagged teeth. The human enjoys this, does he? Well, yeah. There's only so long I can stand getting jerked around like this. I mean, don't you? You wasted all that energy throwing your chili at Hendrik, didn't you? You can't just sit around doing nothing all day. That feels better. Just so long as...
Well stated, human moth.
And Hendrik returns. So I'm gonna choose the steak again and see what happens when we tell them about the blood on the cloth ruining the lines. Gonna give it to Talaiporia. And let's call this to their attention. Excuse me, your summoning circle? They look up at me. I point to the table where the wood is already beginning to shimmer and warp. Oh, sweetie, you're opening the rift back up. He scrounges on the floor for a moment before sitting back up with the crayon. We watch as he crosses out a line here, smudges a line there, until the table looks, if not normal, then at least Euclidean. I know this is a good time to retreat back to the kitchen, but I can't help but ask. So did you just close the circle back up? It looks like the lines were already smudged before this. How precise do they need to be? He chuckles and picks up one of the lobster claws. This wasn't a circle for summoning or making a connection between realms. He places the claw inside the lobster cracker. This circle just eroded the barrier in an already weak location. Usually this place's owner keeps the doorway nice and clear. Oh well, mistakes happen, right? Just let her know to have a look at it, okay? Absolutely. She and I are going to have a long talk. Haha, it was no trouble. He starts to squeeze the cracker. If you know how anything works, it's easy to destroy it. The shell snaps open and he starts to dig the meat out. Talaiporia peers at his hands, watching closely as he dismantles the creature. Would you like some? Ha! And waste time preparing my own meal? My beefsteak is delicious, peon. Suit yourself, but you're missing out. On what? Steak is filled with calories for fuel, and proteins, which are the building blocks of DNA. Name one thing that makes your meal the superior dish. I start to take a step back. They're eating. I can leave them in peace. Time to get back out of here before... Human moth. Great. Yes, ma'am? Remain here and bear witness to my would-be mate's crushing defeat. Yes, ma'am. There are few things I want less than to stay in the same area as these two, especially if they're going to fight. Sweetie, you know I would never want to argue with you. I respect your opinion at all times. Even when they're wrong. Oh no. I am a deity. You cannot comprehend the depths of my knowledge. If I should make a statement, then it is surely so. Oh yes, she's so deeply infallible that her first time out in public in the 1800s, she ran screaming from an accordion player, having literally never seen, in untold millennia of existence, anything like it. I guess she was lucky that they weren't bagpipes, huh? Oh, she stabbed him. She lunges across the table, steak knife flying. Before he could even move, she stabs 3 times, knife driving down to the hilt with each thrust. Hendrik coughs, blood dribbling from his chest. He didn't move a finger to defend himself. One of those stabs must have gotten him in an organ. And it's not like he can't feel it. His face is skewed up from the intensity of the attack. I suppose that was uncalled for, wasn't it, sweetie? I'm sorry I missed what you said, because it sounded like you were spinning lies to the human. Never, darling. At a complete loss, I pull an extra napkin from my apron and hand it over to Hendrik. So, human, have I won the argument? I'm, gonna say yes. Pretty definitively. Now, knifeless, she picks up her steak and rips off a chunk with her teeth. Let that be a lesson to all. I won't be forgetting that anytime soon. So, before I go, is everything to your liking? Okay. That's 5 again. I don't know how to get the other 2. Okay, so I've chosen everything that she doesn't like. I chose the salad. I chose saying to turn on the heater. I chose the squid ink pasta. And I chose the chocolate. So let's see what happens. I grab a couple and some spoons and return. Talaiporia doesn't seem to be a fan, but at least she doesn't make a scene. Hendrik asks for the check and I rush off and get it ready in record time. And finally, he fills out the check. So, sweetie, mediocre food, boring company, not enough of my preferred sustenance. Sounds like a pretty bad Yelp review, but it's not the end of the world. I'm burning the whole place down. Okay, now that's not great. Sweetie, no. She launches a tentacle at him, throwing him across the room and pinning him to the wall. And with others, she breaks a light fixture, dunks her napkin in the table's olive oil, and stuffs her napkin into the broken circuit. Not again. Why am I not surprised that this has happened before? She lumbers out of the restaurant as it burns. I don't remember much else from that evening. Coughing, someone carrying me out of there. Lots of panic. Perhaps it just took the building burning down around them to get everyone to notice. The restaurant shut down and I didn't get any forwarding numbers. I can kiss that reference goodbye on my next round of applications. When I check the pockets of my ruined uniform, I find some paper. Oh, it's the check and the tip. 20%. Nice. I mean, it doesn't make up for losing my job, but I appreciate that he understood that I tried. Ending 2. Unsatisfactory service. Okay, so I have chosen everything to get him injured. Let's see what happens. She's going to enjoy this dessert, or at least how we cook it. What is this blathering about? I can tell that I've got her hooked. We cook it tableside, with a huge flame. And there it is. I'm not so sure about this. Looks like he's picked up on the pattern too. Oh, I insist. I don't even need to write this one down. One flaming dessert for table 6. It'll be a shame to waste something so tasty. But it's the best way to make what she really wants to eat. Hendrik, you're always begging me to share a dessert with you. I scramble about the kitchen, grabbing everything I need. You are, as always, disgusting, but an appealing opponent. Look out! And I light it up. The flame shines in her eyes, and I can feel the heat coming off of it. I should probably be keeping a close eye on it to make sure it's cooking properly, but looking over at Hendrik and Talaiporia, they're holding hands. So simply and happily. She's gripping his hand tightly from joy. Then she jerks him across the table, straight into the flaming cart. Now that burn, that's one that could cause permanent damage. But by this point, I expected it. I can sense a pattern. You don't give fire to a creature that loves suffering without expecting someone to get second-degree burns. And he's trying to stifle a laugh, but it's pretty obvious. He loves it. I think he's just trying to keep up appearances. He executes a perfect stop, drop, and roll, and soon the flames are out. Yeesh, though he's far from unscathed. Human, this was a fantastic dinner. Bring us the statement so we might repay you for your noble worship and gifts. It's not long before I return with the bill in hand. So, sweetie, abysmal choices. Meat soups. Flaming fruits. Bring additional fire so I may raise this entire city. I jest, human. Why would I wish to rob myself of the future enjoyment of dining here? You nearly gave me a heart attack. Should your organs cease, kindly deposit yourself in the nearest rift. I would be pleased to craft your matter into a new species. Let me finish using it first. I've got plans. Treat it well. I will be most displeased should my waiting be for naught. Hendrik puts his very, very bloody napkin on the table, looking at him, battered, burned, and bloodstained. There's a vague sense that I should be doing something. Getting a first aid kit, calling an ambulance. But that right there is just normal. That's what normal is for them. That's what their flirting looks like. And you. She turns to face him. Surely the world will not thank you for any continued services of stalling me. But as you persist, and as your form does not look entirely disagreeable this evening, I find it acceptable to engage in the human ritual of mouth touching. He springs to his feet, even though it looks like he should be stumbling over. Sweetie. She moves in for the kiss, and of course it's odd. But I don't know. It feels right seeing them together. And who would have guessed that she was capable of being gentle? Maybe that's just the way love is. She's gonna rip his face off. Yep. Yep. And there goes half his face. She's got the skin in her hand, and it looks like she even took a muscle or two with it. She gives it an affectionate nuzzle. I will be waiting by your vehicle. Do not keep me long. It's hard to tell with his lower jaw missing, but there's enough cheek muscle left to see him grin. Do you want a bandage or... He shakes his head and gets to his feet. He pulls out his wallet. He looks up at me and, through the blood, he is still beaming. Thank you. I nod back. I hope that wasn't one of his nicer ties. How much clothing do regenerative masochists go through? Best date in over 100 years. I think she might have reopened his stab wounds too. When I look up, he's stumbling towards the door. Is he okay to drive? Whether Talaiporia can or can't operate a car, I assume the outcome would be similarly disastrous. As he leaves, everything goes back to normal. I start bussing the table. The tentacles may be gone, but the tablecloth is still a mess. I get it now. Now that they're gone, it'll be up to Hendrik to keep everyone safe. Good luck with that. I gather up the check and start walking it back to the kitchen. And somehow, after a night of monsters and gore, this is the biggest surprise of the evening. He's left me 100% tip on dinner with steak and everything. I don't want to say that there's a price at which I'll bear this kind of treatment. I mean, what would that say about me as a person? I have pride. Still, I came here for experience and connections, and I sure experienced something tonight. Heh, my heart's still racing. The second that rift opened, I wanted to be anywhere but here. But now, I can't imagine working anywhere else. What do I need to research other restaurants for? This place is magic. The minute my shift is over, I'll need to have words with my manager. I don't mind that she didn't warn me. I never would have believed her. But I need to make absolutely certain. I want to have the Saturday shift permanently. I want to meet all of the strange creatures out there and hear all their stories. This is a career. Ending 1. Kissing on the 293rd date. That was cute. Thank you so much for playing. I will be censoring that, but it is his guts. It's also not overly bloody, but anyhow, that was May I Take Your Order, and that was hilarious. I love that. I actually follow the developer on social media as well, and for a long time I didn't really realize that he does visual novels. And apparently he has another one with these particular characters that is, I believe 18 plus, so I will look into playing it. It's just a demo at the moment. But yeah, that was so much fun. That was really cute. And disturbing. But I enjoyed it. A lot. I love comedy horror. And anyhow, if you made it this far, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did like it, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more of me, but you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. I upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And I will always post if there are exceptions to that. I also stream on Twitch. Just follow me on social media and Twitch to know when I go live. And I hope to see you all next time. Bye.